Evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 54 of the Town Social, bringing to a close one of the worst seasons in recent memory. Nottingham Forest have stayed up, we've gone down. All we need really is Leeds to go up, and we've got the full set, haven't we? But never mind. Let's digest it all together in a nice little group therapy session. My name's Nick Barlow. I'm joined as always by Ian Kilroy, Gascay. Gents, welcome. Thank you everybody for listening. If you want to get your comments in, your questions, please do so, and we'll answer them as we go along. Brighton Writer has left the building. We have our seventh manager in only 2 years in Michael Duff. So there's a lot to talk about. But the first thing I'm going to get to very, very briefly is to touch on Brighton Writer's reign and what you guys think of him. Now, he's not been here for long, obviously. Looking at it on the pitch, it's obvious that there were some players that weren't particularly trying very hard, were a bit lazy. Brighton Writer came out with the comments that we've all heard about certain individuals, certain things he hasn't seen in his entire history of management. So you're either on the side of you feel sorry for him, he was given a bit of a poison chalice and it was never going to work, or you're on the other side, as Joby McAnuff said on Sky Sports, it's all about excuses. And as manager, he should be getting those players together and getting results out of them and stamping his authority down. Guys, I'm keen to know your thoughts on this, Gaz, in particular. Like, what side of the fence are you on?
I think I'm probably on the. He was sold a bit of a poison chalice in that, and I think he alluded to it in a couple of his interviews, didn't he? That I'm not entirely sure he was given the right tell by our hierarchy around the quality of the squad, what was in it and what wasn't. He left it way too long. I mean, if he was gonna pull the pin out of the hand grenade in the dressing room and do what he did towards the end of the season, he might as well have done it 5 games before. Like I said before, I think he was trying to nurse some fragile egos and some people who were feeling less than confident and competent through to the end of the season. You know, if he had been told that, look, there's enough here to keep us up and all you got to do is just nurse your way through, then that might explain some of it. But, you know, the guy had as we said several times, the guy had a good CV, as good a CV as we could probably get anybody. And you know, I do wonder, having thought about it with hindsight, is, you know, should he have gone in all guns blazing, you know, Mark Fotheringham Mark II, except for the fact he could turn around and say, yeah, but look what I've done, boys. What have you lot done with your careers? Here's what I've done. You need to start listening to me. So I think it's a bit of both, mate. I think the squad wasn't as good as you said it was. You left it way too long. But let's be honest, 2 wins in 12 or whatever it was inevitable. And he'd gone, I think. I knew after the Birmingham game, he was a goner. He was never stopping. I'm surprised the club, to be honest. I mean, it was a bit. The pining of Kevin on his video was a bit sickly, really. It was like, you know, like when you were at high school and you were 15 and you got off with the hot bird, and then she said she realised after 2 dates that you're actually quite ugly.
No, that's never happened, mate. No,
did it around you? You married her, didn't you? You know, for the rest of us in the real world, you know, it was like the club were pining for this bloke, wasn't it? It was a bit embarrassing at times. So, you know, although he's gone. I'll let you talk about him first, Colin, and then I guess we'll talk about Duff a bit.
I thought Brighton Writer was that fit chick. I thought he was the one. Honestly, looking at the CV, it looked fantastic. And to be fair, when he came in, looking at that alone, you're thinking, have we actually managed to get him? And now it's easy. Well, sitting here now with hindsight, you know, it kind of, I look at it a bit similarly than Warnock going up to Aberdeen and how it was treated. And I don't know, from the outside looking at it, if Brighton Wright ever really bought into us as a long-term thing anyway. It just felt like it never really settled, did it? It just all felt a bit novel all the way through. I thought footballing-wise we got worse. I actually thought we looked better under Darren Moore than what we did under Brighton Wright after his first couple of games. And I know when I say better, I mean more solid, right? Solid and less likely to lose games, maybe not win them, but we were in games. And now it was a long, hard season with a squad that, again, from the beginning of it, from the outset, I thought was not going to be good enough anyway, right? And I expect to drop off towards the end, I do. But when Brighton Wright comes in, a guy with his first press conference looked great. He's talking sensical, it seems. And it just got worse and worse and worse after what was it, Watford we beat? I think that was his first win with Watford, and then just never really kind of got going, did it? Afterwards, it just felt we were sinking into the abyss and with never any hope again. If you'd have told me from the moment he joined that this is where we'd be now, I'd be like, that's a load of nonsense. It's not going to happen that way. But everything felt wrong. The way he handled himself and he handled the squad at the end of the season, I thought was fucking horrific. What he did to Jack Rodoni, especially, as we spoke about before against Ipswich, I thought was ridiculous. I felt like he made him a bit of a fall guy, and it was waiting for him to make a bollock up before he could take him off and make a bit of an example of it. And I don't like that because Jack Rodoni is going to be, if he's with us in August, one of our main men, right? And I just felt the way it was handled from that side of it was really poor, really, really poor. And it's ended up with me being happy he's gone. I thought the worst case scenario here was that he was going to stay. I can't believe Kev waited a couple of days for him to text back, like you say, after he'd been jilted. After Brighton Wright has gone, yeah, I don't fancy that, but I just won't call him. Yeah, that's what he sounded like from the club. And to me, at that point, the worst thing would have been him coming back. At least we can kind of move on now and start afresh. And it really is the time to do it. But I just don't think it could have gone much worse since he joined. And the players falling out. They must have. Were they falling out all season? That's kind of what's been suggested. Yet he's coming and not made it any better. Did Moore manage to hold it together and keep us in contention to staying up longer than we should have done? I don't know. It just there's more questions than answers I've been seeing these last few months, and I just feel that I don't think any of us expected us to be where we are. Well, how we've got to where we are now. I just expected more from the moment he joined, and it was a bit of a joke, really.
Problem is, as fans, we don't see what goes on behind the scenes, do we? And I've not seen anybody really from in the club aggressively disputing the claims that he's made. I think looking at some of the players, you can see that the attitude wasn't right. You know, Bergzorg strolling about, being selfish with it.
Don't think Nick. Sorry to jump in, Nick, but just to this, did you see that before Moore left? And again, I'm not Darren Moore's biggest fan. His football I thought was atrocious. But did we see when did it start? When was that visible on the field? Because it wasn't there under Worthy for sure. So when did it kind of start this visible falling apart on the field?
I didn't see it under Darren Moore, but I thought Darren Moore had us relatively well organised. Although I don't know, I can say that because we conceded so many goals, but I think it fell apart from. I think it looked. I agree, and I think it looked good. The Watford game and the Leeds game, I thought was all right. I thought we looked decent. I thought we were aggressive. But was that a tail off from the Worthy era, with players still running on a little bit of confidence? And then after that Cardiff game, that was abysmal, it was just rubbish from there on. And I didn't see a problem with the players' attitudes until Brighton Wright. I agree. I have to admit, I didn't see that issue under Moore. I think Moore was just too conservative in his tactics. I think if he'd have been a bit braver in some of the games that ended 1-1, we may have had a few more wins. Yeah, we'd probably had a few more defeats, but I think he just needed to be a bit braver with what we had. So from one sense, I felt sorry for him in the beginning because I did feel like he'd been sold something that was bigger than it was before he came in. And the squad, to me, the squad was never good enough. It was nowhere near good enough. It wasn't good enough the season before, and we managed to stay up. We scraped up. But keeping Warnock over pre-season, going into that, I think he was set up to fail, really. But having said that, we weren't in the relegation zone when he arrived, were we? So, and a manager with his CV and his experience, you would expect him to be more authoritative, getting to the players and to have that tactical nous to get us over the line. And for whatever reason, sometimes it just don't work out, does it? Sometimes managers don't fit in with certain clubs. But to me, he caused more problems than he solved. And
there was the other thing, Nick, I was just thinking about then. I think the other thing was that Brian Wright had to deal with with other teams below us who suddenly found form. When Moore was in charge, Wednesday couldn't buy a win, could they? Then all of a sudden they turned into world beaters, which then leads me down to a big loop to say, I know Danny Rawle had a lot longer with that team, but he got, and I would argue the Wednesday squad was probably weaker than ours. I think the Moore thing, I do think that we we lost belief we could win a game under Moore, which so this attitude was displaying itself possibly in a different way in terms of whether they've got the belief to go and win a game. Maybe the worthy spell gave the players the belief that actually we can do this, and Andre just didn't harness that, and then it's appeared in the way that he's talking about people's behaviour.
I don't think his actions have helped anything because it's just inflated this bad situation. I don't understand why he took that Ipswich game, if I'm being honest, because like I said on the pod before, it was obvious he was going from the comments he was making. So why not just step aside, let Worthy have that game, do the work in the background, which they're already clearly doing. They're already speaking to Duff and maybe other people. So why not just step out of it? Why take that last game?
I guess it involves money, Nick.
No, but that's what pissed me off. That's what pissed me off the most this season is that Ipswich game, right? It's that it felt we've just hung players out to dry. It felt like the entire Ipswich game was an excuse to prove why we got relegated under Brighton Wrighter for Brighton Wrighter. And now I know people didn't like Joby Mackin or Joby's comments on TV. I don't know what TV show it was, but I think he's right. I'm not saying Brighton Wrighter's wrong in that they're the problems that caused the relegation, absolutely. But he felt very quickly towards the end of the season, it was all about washing his hands as best he could to make sure everybody knew it wasn't his problem. But then when it looked at the Ipswich lineup, he's kind of just gone, stuff it, fuck him. That's how it felt. That's how it felt as a fan, seeing the squad and again, seeing what he did to Jack Radoni. And I just didn't like it. I didn't like it. I wouldn't have expected it from a coach so experienced who came in when he did. It just didn't feel right to me. And again, just didn't expect it. And there's not many things that I think in football that can actually surprise you anymore. You kind of understand most decisions how they're made and what's going on with picking lineups and stuff. But that Ipswich game alone, like you say, Nick, I don't quite know why he did what he did, how he did it, because I just didn't like it.
I didn't like Jack Radoni's pathetic attempt at getting the ball back after he'd lost it, I must admit. But I mean, we've seen just as bad, if not worse, from other players. And let's be honest. And in a game like that, towards the end, what you're gaining from it, really? Because, like you say, either he gets sold, but more than likely, if no one takes, he's going to be our player next season. So I don't see, when he knew he was leaving, I don't see what the point of that was. What he was gaining from it. It was a bit bizarre to me. So yeah, overall, I'm not sad that he's gone, which I don't really like saying that, but it's the way it is. I'd have been more fretful going into next season with him in charge than Duff. Let's put it that way. I feel like we're in a safer pair of hands now. And Damien's put this comment here. Let me just bring it up, that heads dropped after one went, and I think part of it was that Warnock had him playing a certain way. They all loved him, and then he walks out so soon into the season, which I don't think him or the players were expecting. And then Darren Moore has to take over from that, and I think that affected things massively. And I think, barring a small peak under Worthy, I think that's where the downward spiral started. And I think that was a major mistake, making that decision, A, to keep him on, or B, to let him go so soon. I think, and then I think that just caused a downward spiral.
Well, it's inexperience, isn't it, that does that? That's an inexperience thing when it comes to ownership. I think you either go with him or you don't go with Warnock. But the kind of dilly-dally went, oh, yeah, we'll keep him in. Oh, no, it's not, get rid. And that really started the downfall of the season. The squad, I had major questions over. But I think from the moment, like you say, Nick, they got rid of Warnock so early on, everything from that point onwards was doomed to me. And it was just something I hope we learn from. And I hope we don't do it again, because we can't continue to go through managers like we have done over the last, 24 months. But like you say, Nick, that move there to get rid of Warnock after, in my opinion, I'm with Damo, we shouldn't have brought Warnock back. I don't think it was necessary. Warnock's actually not been the greatest coach when it comes to, I know we'll go on later and actually talk a little about last preseason to what preseason we're expecting this year and fitness in players and stuff like that. But he's not the greatest permanent coach anymore. He's not. When it comes to short term, you want him just now to get an immediate reaction. Great. Should have kept him. Brilliant. Work for that. But then when you get to the summer, you move on, because we were always going to move on. We were always going to look for something later on. And how it was handled was just poor. And from that moment, it was done. And hopefully, like you say, I'm with you. Going into this season now with Michael Duff under coaching everybody. Quite excited all of a sudden after 2 weeks ago, thinking, "Oh, this is shit. All right, we're going in there, but it's going to be awful." All of a sudden, a bit of renewed hope suddenly appears, and I can't say I expected that at this point either.
Let's talk about it then, lads. You what, Gaz? Sorry.
I was just going to say, I think the other thing that concerns me, though, with the talking about the fucking mess they've made of the senior management have made of the season, is they've obviously talked about players being transfer listed, haven't they? And those players have obviously been transfer listed off the back of Brighton Wright's tail end. And I guess some of that is Brighton Wright's recommendations, to Cartwright and to Edwards and to Kevin Nagle. These players are up to it; they need to be binned off. Is that going to potentially present Michael Duff with a problem that we've got disengaged, pissed off players who actually, with a little bit of the right management, we might have been able to keep in League One? That's going to be our next challenge. So, Duff now is going to be, if you ask Duff today who's going to be on your first training session come the 10th of July or whenever they come back to training, he probably can't tell you at the minute.
Well, he alluded to the fact that we're going to give him horrendous write-ups anyway, wasn't it? So who knows? Maybe no one will take him. Maybe they're going to be stuck here again. I mean, I think we all know the players that are likely to leave, but it might surprise you. People have to come in for them, and they're in a relegated side, and nobody's really stood out as been amazing. Let's be honest. Sorba Thomas, he's got a decent number of assists, but when he went to Blackburn, he couldn't get in the tide. Mikhail Helik's been relegated twice. And there's a defender that rings alarm bells. I mean, Jack Radone, I have my reservations about him. I like his energy, but he can't finish for Toffee. So whether someone will pick him for potential, possibly. But other than that, who else is there? Nichols might not fancy it, but I'm struggling to think of anyone else that any other club would really come in for. So I think for me, I don't foresee wholesale changes. I don't think there's going to be as many changes as what people think, but I do think we are going to bring in a few players. But I think majority is going to have to work with what we've got. And I know he said in his interview it's a good squad. Well, I'm not so sure. On paper it's okay, but mentally, how are they? How are they mentally? Are they up for the challenge? Are they mentally short after last season? And it's up to Duff really to get into them and to try and instill that work ethic, that desire, that positive mentality, that winning culture that we keep hearing 50 million times in all the press conferences and what have you. It's a tough job, but what's pleased me most about all this is we haven't pratted about. We've got him in early, and that's what we needed to do. Get him in early. Get him in so he can work with them full pre-season, work with Cartwright and the rest of them around who to bring in, who's staying, who's going, and let's get a proper pre-season under his belts. I mean, let's talk about Michael Duff himself. Played for Cheltenham, played for Burnley, had a reasonable playing career, and manager of Cheltenham Town, took him to automatic promotion, did really well at Barnsley, but came within a whisker of taking them up through the playoffs. Were very unlucky in that game, from what I can remember. Didn't quite work out at Swansea, but I mean, it was just a complete non-fit from the outside, completely contrasting styles, and it still baffles me why they approached him, to be quite honest, because he was so out of kilter with what they represent football-wise as a club. It just wasn't the right fit. So I don't think it's particularly fair to judge him on that spell. But judging on his winning percentage in League One, Cheltenham, he averaged 1.53 points per game. Barnsley 1.81 points per game. So that's pretty good. It's similar to Darren Moore's records. Let's not get too excited. But it's still good, lads. And we're getting somebody with, the important thing is we're getting someone with experience in that league and knows the league inside out and what it takes to compete. I would be really happy with it. I wasn't as happy when he was mentioned when we were in the Championship, but having actually listened to him in the press conferences, he talks a lot of sense. He's calm, collective. He looks motivated. He's bought into what we want to do as a club and where we want to go. I don't give a toss where he lives or whether he has to commute 3 or 4 hours to get here, because to me that's even more commitment if he's travelling up, or if he's getting another house and staying in the area, which I think he is. I just care about what he does with the team on a Saturday. And to me, I think we're in as safe a pair of hands as we could possibly get for this situation.
Nick, would you have been happy last summer though if it had come in then? Do you know, like if Warner could have walked then and would have brought him in then?
Yeah, to be honest, yeah, I would, because again, he's coming in with a full pre-season, and some managers fit certain clubs, and I think we're reasonably similar to Barnsley in that all the fans want is hard work, don't they? They want the team well organised, hard-working players, give their all. We don't expect you to win every single game, but we expect you to compete in every single game. And for the football to be entertaining, score a few goals, just do your best. Just honest, hard-working team. And to me, that's what he encompasses. Barnsley fans really rated him. They were gutted he hadn't gone back there. I think a lot of them were hoping that he was going back there. And I saw on social media when we announced him, they announced that they were doing sort of like steak pie or something on there. I can't remember what it was. The fans were in uproar. So you're talking about bloody pies, and he's gone to our rivals. But it's all encouraging, and I often look at the fans from the previous clubs because they're a really good gauge to me. I don't often listen to what I mean. It sounds a bit bad. I don't really listen to what people at the club say. I'll listen to what the reputation is of the fans that seen them game after game, because they give more of an honest assessment. And the Barnsley fans really rated him. Cheltenham fans loved him. The Swansea, it was different because it was a complete contrast. So I don't really care too much about that. So yeah, I would have been happy for him to come in. That's pre-season, but I think particularly with us being in League One now, we needed someone with the nous, with the experience to try and get us out of it. And I think it's the best we could have got. I don't know who else we could have got realistically in our position that could do as good a job.
No, I'm with you. I think we're a bit of a basket case club now, aren't we? Really, we've gone through so many managers. You're not gonna who's gonna leave a good job to come to us? Like, it's a danger job considering how many managers we've been through. You're right. I think having coached Barnsley before, he gets the Yorkshire people, and I think that'll help a lot. As Ian Matthewman said there, I thought in the first press conference he sounded great. He didn't earn his way through it, and that's, I tell you what, that's a win for me, is it, just on that alone. But I don't like 3-5-2. Duff does play a 3-5-2 system generally. Now, to me, if we'd have brought him in last year in the Championship playing that kind of system, I think it's a different thing tactically. And I'd have gone into that in great detail, why I thought that wasn't the right way to go about it with Town that can't afford to splash the cash on good players to play in that system. In League One, where we should dominate the games, it's strange. Even though I don't think League One's that big of a drop-off talent-wise in the Championship. I think people are expecting it to be too easy. It's not an easy league. It's definitely not an easy league. And there's some, you might have more physical players and more textbook like cloggers in quotation marks, but it's still a fucking hard league, and we're a long way off, in my opinion, being competitive at the top end of it. But respect to law, just because we're a big team, we'll turn up and team will want to beat us, and I think they'll just give us a bit more respect than what we deserve. And then that plays into a 3-5-2 working a little bit more because you can push extra guys up the field. So maybe Duff's system in League One suits, and I can accept it. I can eat it a little bit. But he just seems to get the club again straight away. Press conference, fantastic. He seemed all right, knows what he's on about. It's good that we got it done quickly. We didn't have to interview anybody, because how many managers have we not interviewed that are available at this point? There can't be that many that have not had a call from Town to see if they're interested in a second round interview. It's an appointment. Do you know what? When we appointed Chris Powell a long time ago, even Simon Grayson, there's certain times in football clubs, I think, where appointments make sense. It might work, it might not work, but at the time, it just kind of makes sense. And now those two appointments worked. I don't think there's any argument there. They're not the most exciting, but Grayson took us up and Powell kept us there after it not working out a little bit there. But I think here Michael does that similar kind of thing. It just makes sense. I'm not overly excited, because I think it doesn't actually come down to what he can produce with the squad we have right now, but what Cartwright and the rest of them can kind of give him to work with next season. I think that's far more important. But on coach alone, Michael Duff ticks enough boxes to be like, right, we've got a chance here. Now, come on, guys, fucking back him. Give him the tools, because like you said, Nick, our problem is our squads, most of them are contracted up. We'll go through, again, the players shortly and who we'd have, who we keep and lease and whatnot. But the squad, the majority of the main players in the squad, bar Johnny Ogg, are contracted through this year anyway. And now most of our players are quite older as well, like Tom Lees and Matty Pearson. So they're not going to be that attractive to teams in the Championship, I don't think. Our squad will be quite similar to last year without some kind of financial input from the board, from the owner, Kev. So let's just see what kind of happens there. But Michael Duff looks good enough to me for now. We just have to see what the club provide him with to see how further he can take us, really, I think.
Yeah, well, I'm going to echo what you two say, really. I think he's, in our circumstances, it's a canny appointment. I think for the first time, we've probably shown a bit of nous as a club, certainly under Kevin Nagel's ownership, other than the Warnock appointment in Feb.
He's left us.
He's had enough.
He's had enough.
We were verging
already.
on positivity there, Gaz, and
he can't deal with it, can he?
He's called it a day. Do you know what? We're getting dangerously close to being positive, though, aren't we?
We need to rein it in, lads. We're far too positive after that season, aren't we? I'll just bring up this. Let's bring up this comment here. So we're gonna talk about the team soon, I think, aren't we? We're gonna do. I think. Shall we wrap this season up with Player of the Season for a laugh and Most Improved Player, or maybe like Breakthrough Player. So. Yeah. I'll start off with Player of the Season. I mean, it's hard, isn't it? Thing is, the obvious one is Mikel Hellick because he scored some goals. But the problem is he's not there to score goals. He's there as a defender. And we've conceded so many goals that it almost seems criminal to really give it to him. And I don't think he's defended particularly well in a lot of games. I think he gets turned far too easily. So I think... Oh, so difficult. I'm not going to say Bergzorg to be controversial. Although he has scored 7 goals. So he's done all right. I think, oh, God. I really like Tom Lees, in his performances. I mean, he's been injured quite a bit, but I've always liked Tom Lees as a defender, and I think he's been our best defender this season, in all honesty. I know he's getting on a bit, but his experience and his positioning, I think, have been brilliant. And he's such a good header of the ball as well. He makes so many important clearances. And to me, he's one of those players that always goes under the radar. He never really gets the recognition he deserved. But ever since he's been at Town, I don't think he's ever had a really poor season. So do you know what? I'm gonna say Tom Lees for me, just more to the point of just highlighting him as a good player for us, because I don't think he gets the recognition he deserves a lot of the time. And I think
he's the most important. Tom Lees is without doubt the most important person in our defence. When he plays, we look organised. We just do. He's always in the right position at the right time. You rarely see him getting dragged out. You just don't see it. I think Mikel Hellick, you do. You kind of, like you say, Nick. I'd still give him Player of the Season. I think without his goals, we're down by not Christmas, but probably not long after it. We're Huddersfield Town, and in the Championship, unfortunately, we don't have the financial clout to buy the players in finished products or close to them. We just don't. Now, Mikel Hellick had played in the Championship previously. We weren't bringing him in like Radinho Bolka and thinking, can he do it? And all of a sudden it working. Oh, yeah, look at us, we're geniuses. We knew very much what his limitations were when we brought him in. And with the right partner, I think he'd be a very good. I've centre-back ones and centre-back twos. And for me, Tom Lees is a centre-back one. Your organiser makes shit happen. Then you centre-back two, he's the guy that Tom Lees' boss is about to do all the hard work. So Tom Lees can just sweep up and make sure no one gets in behind him. And now there's a few times where they're being off this year. But Mikel Hellick, for me, if you saw, is he 9 goals he finished on this year? Is that what he actually finished with? It's 9. The second or third highest goal scorer and defender I think we've had. I think that's it, isn't it? I think in recent history, I'm not going to chuck in forever because I'm sure something happened in the 30s or 40s or 50s or whatever. But he's got a lot of goals and he's kept us in it this season a lot of different times. I thought he's been a bit of a standout, and I definitely think when you've got your centre back that scores as many goals as he does, there'll be a taker for him this year. There has to be a taker for him. But like you say, Nick, I actually don't think if he did move on after that, it wouldn't be the biggest loss because I think Tom Lees is far more important for us, and he's contracted, so we should see him in August. But for me, Mikel Hellick is the guy of the season. even though quietly, I think Sorba Thomas were pretty good for bits of it. But I think he created more chances this season than anybody else in the division. So we've got to, even if he's a bad egg or whatever Brian Wright referred to them as, it'd be a distant second, but he'd be there too.
Hi everyone, I'm back. Sorry. I don't know what happened there. My computer just went off. I take you on to player of the season now, because obviously I was away while you still carried on chatting intimately, like a little fireside chat. I'm going to, although controversial though it is, I'm with you. I think for me it would be Sorba Thomas. If you're judging them purely on output in the season, what they produced, then you can't argue Sorba produced more in games than anybody else. I agree with you, Nick, and I've said that before. I'm a big Tom Lees fan. I think when he plays well, we play well, but I'm not sure you can give it to somebody on that basis. The guy with the greatest output was Sorba, with Michael Heliker probably a close second, which probably explains why both those may get picked off by Championship clubs this summer.
9 assists and 4 goals for Sorba this season. It's not bad, is it? I mean, I do think he's limited in terms of. I mean, I'm surprised he scored that many goals actually, because he's one of the. To me, he's quite limited. He's good at crossing a ball, but not much else. But I mean, you can't argue with that sort of return and assist in the Championship. And I think he will. I think it's time for him to move on, for him and the club. Hopefully, we'll get a reasonable amount of money for him. Yeah, I know, Killer. It's a lot of goals from a defender. I think his defense is just a bit suspect at times, and with him being a defender. But you're right. I think he will. I think them two are the most likely to get snaffled up out there. Let's be honest. And but what about the let's call it a breakthrough player? Have we got any breakthroughs or most improved player? The one that surprised us. I mean,
it's got to be Brodie Spencer, hasn't it? You can't look much beyond that, can you? I think the other kids who've had goes, Jackson's done all right. Pat Jones has had a couple of flashes of cameos, hasn't he? Jaheim Headley's had a couple of goals, but not really delivered. I do think next year might be the year where we do see one or maybe two of these kids really given the chance to shine.
Yeah, I think you got to include Jack Redoni as well, though, don't you? Is he 22, 23 now? He's still pretty young. And to me,
killer as a first team choice.
Yeah, I just still feel like he's developed an awful lot. Honestly, I think he runs games now, and I don't think he did that a year ago. I think before Warnock came in, he kind of were there and thereabouts, but not really implemented, like stamping his authority on a game. But I think he does. I think he does that a lot more now. And I'm actually, of all the players we have, maybe apart from Tommy Pender, because we've not seen him just yet, but he looks quite promising. Jack Redoni's, to me, the best prospect we have at the club. I honestly think he is. I think the way he can control games, he's everywhere. He's busy. Brodie Spencer, yeah, of course, it has to be him. Although I would like to put a bit of a caveat on that, saying in the last 4 or 5 games under Brighton, right, there was a huge drop off in his performances. Now going forward on the ball, he's all right. He doesn't really create goals, but he's not Jack Hunt exciting, but yeah, positive. But I thought in defence, he's a bit. I don't know. I just. There was a worry there. I felt there was a bit of a drop-off. And now he's a young lad. He's had a long season playing international games as well with Northern Ireland, played up in Scotland. I'm sure it's just a little bit of burnout. And a good pre-season will really, really benefit him. And if Michael Duff does come in and play that 3-5-2, I feel Brodie Spencer as a winger, as like a wing-back, would be perfect. Absolutely perfect. I think Ben Jackson on the other side will be too once he's given an actual run in one position. But we'll talk about that in a bit. But I feel Brodie Spencer, obviously, he looks class. There's just some worries in there for me personally in regards to his defensive positioning. Just lapses of concentration maybe, but again, he's young, he's raw. He's not played a full season like this before, and I'm just hoping it's that drop off there, and then he'll know. I don't think he's going to be snapped up this summer. I think he'll be with us. I don't think he's shown enough yet to warrant the money I'd expect Town to be wanting as a club for a guy with as much potential as Brodie Spencer. So he'll be here in August, I think. And he'll know he'll be starting. He's still the first name on the team sheet by the end of the season. Although he subbed against Ipswich, didn't he? So maybe not. But he's going to be there. He's going to be there, and he's been given time. And I think going into a season, knowing right, that's my position. We're going to work in the system. We're going to work out how to do it. That's a huge difference, and it'll really help him. And I'm really, really looking forward, out of everyone we have, looking forward the most to seeing how he goes next season. Because, like you say, his improvement from January to the end, maybe not the last 2 games, but from January, from when he went out on loan previously over to Motherwell, what a different player he is. And he looks instantly a first-team player. And there's very few players that come through from the academy. I think the last one we had was Phil Billing, probably, who came through and suddenly looked like a first-team player as soon as he touched the ball. Maybe John Russell counts a little bit. Obviously, didn't quite make it to the same level, but you can only be positive about him, surely. There can't be one Town fan not looking forward to seeing how he develops.
I think he's tired. It's his first full season as playing full-time, week in, week out football. So I think he's probably tired towards the end of the season. And probably both physically and mentally, it was probably quite tough. But, I'm with you, I could see him playing every game next year. I could see him being 46, 48, 50 appearances next year. I still think he's a centre-back, and I think that's probably where he'll end up. But, as a right wing-back in League One, he should be able to cope with that. He isn't going to get done. The couple of errors you've talked about before, Ian, with him, is being done by, Championship / almost Premier League quality play. He ain't going to face them wingers in League One. He just isn't. So he's going to win. He's going to win his battles 9 times out of 10, which will give him real chance to shine. I think he could be a real, genuine League One star next year.
So Duff, as you say, likes to play 3-5-2. Shall we talk about? I mean, there's no really. We saw the retain list. Not really many surprises there, was there? We've offered Jonathan Org a new contract. I've not seen anything to say that he's accepted or declined it yet. But to me, it makes sense just for his presence in and around the team, as well as on the pitch. So I don't disagree with that. Obviously, the likes of Utah, Bergzorg, Matos, gone. But I don't think there's any particular surprises there. The worrying thing is, for me, the amount of players that's still in contract and having to shift them, because we're going to need some reinforcements. Do you think that, looking at the squad that we've got now, this current squad on paper, do you think we have the squad to play the formation that Duff wants to play if we couldn't sign anybody?
No, I don't. I think we're a long way off. I think if people think what we've got now is going to drop to League One and suddenly we're going to dominate games, they've got another thing coming. We just don't have a team that can dominate games. We don't have ball players in midfield. Best we have is Ben Wiles, and people hate him. They don't like him at all. But if you're looking for players that can kind of unlock defenses, remember, we're going to go down again, and people will think we're going to be good. So they're going to sit back and go, come on, boys, come and attack us. And we've had that all season. And every time anybody's done it to us, we've been awful, absolutely awful. We're always better when a team comes at us and we can kind of just sit back and retain and then counter-attack. That's kind of the most successful period he had, was Bergzorg, Sorba Thomas, Josh Karoma, hitting on counter, hopefully breaking teams like that rather than playing football for them, because we're not a team that can play football. We need to bring in ball players. And our problem is, who are the most expensive footballers to buy? Creative players. They're always the most creative, are always the most expensive. Now, it's going to cost a fair bit of money to do that. I don't think we have. Quickly going back to the release list, there was a couple of people. I really think Brahima Diarra could turn out to be a really good professional footballer. But I think he's a guy that needs to play in a system where you have the ball a lot. He likes to drive forward. Now, his end product's not quite there, but the problem we have, right, is who's he going to pass to playing for us? If Brahima Diarra gets it, drives, there's no one with him anyway. We didn't have any strikers with him. And I really feel like he's suffered because his entire time at Town, do you remember in the pre-season friendlies he used to look electric. He used to take people on for fun. And he just never really kicked on. But I honestly think it's because of what happened. And I understand he may be a part of the cultural kind of issues that we've got. Excuse my alarm going off in the background. It's a bird alarm. Just by the way, there's no bird that's broken into the lounge. It's just cracking off there. But Diarra has always been an exciting footballer. He really has. And he just hasn't had a chance with Town, I don't think, to play in a system where you dominate possession and create more chances for people like him to be able to create problems on the edge of the box. I'd have liked to keep him, to be honest. And now, obviously, Jordan Rhodes has gone. He's just done really well for Blackpool. His injury aside, is he a guy that could have done a job for us in League One? Now, I don't think so, because you've got Healy, you've got Ward, you've kind of got a lot of older strikers.
We're overloaded with strikers, man. Because that was the thing I was looking at. We've got, I think I've counted 7 if you include Kieran Phillips. 5 minutes ago we were all going, we've got no strikers. Where are we going to get? Who's going to score us a goal? And now we've got 7. The problem you've got is you got Phillips. All right, I know he's scoring goals in America, but I think you could, Ian, if you went over and had a go. You've got, Simpson. That wasn't a compliment. Simpson and Hudlin. I mean, they never, even at League One, did Simpson play 30-odd games or something for Northampton this year? Scored
40 games. Simpson played 40 games and scored 3 goals.
I mean, that's not what we need, is it? I mean, so you've got 3 players there that you've got to try and do something with before you bring somebody in. You've still got Danny Ward. You've got Reece Healy. You've got Keane Harrott. There's another one. Harrott, I think, is good enough to play at League One level. So I think that people are talking about wanting to bring another striker in. I don't think striker will even be on the list of things we're thinking we need right now.
We've also got Bojan Radulovic. We've got Radulovic as well.
Yeah, your favourite.
I love him. Can't get
enough of him. Colin Quanner.
That's unfair on Colin Quanner, is.
But I think centre midfield is where we look weak for me. I think we all got a flash of Iapenda at Ipswich, and I was really impressed with him actually coming into that atmosphere with 10 other blokes who looked like they couldn't give a shiny. He actually, he put in half a performance for 20 minutes. He's rangy, and the thing that I like about Brodie Spencer is his physicality. I think I said this before. When he came in, he looks like a man. He looks like a bloke playing blokes football, and I think it's the same with Iapenda. His physical appearance. He's tall, he's rangy, but he's quite thick with it. And I think he could easily step into a League One team. But then, we're offering Hogger a contract. Is he going to play? Is he going to be a reserve? Where does he fit? Ben Wiles, where does he fit? I don't really see where he fits. Because the other thing, which I was going to say before my computer rudely cut me off about Duff's style is that, if Town fans are expecting us to control games and have 80% possession, you're not going to under Duff. That's not his style. His style is very Warnock. It's going to be lots of hard work, lots of pressing, getting the ball forward at early opportunities and trying to create problems for the opposition, which is great if you're winning, by the way. But if you're not winning, that soon becomes tiresome, doesn't it? So, I'm not sure he's looking for a world-class number 10. I think he's looking for a box-to-box, which is, I know somebody's mentioned, I think Ian mentioned Herbie Kane, didn't he, in the chat? And I think that's exactly the kind of guy we're going to need. Somebody with a leg, somebody with a bit of energy. Jonathan Hogg 10 years ago, but with a bit of an ability to pick a ball out. Because I know that Ian Matthewman mentioned Devante Cole as well. Obviously, these guys played for Duff at Barnsley, but the one, ironically, that I think he should be looking at is Jordan Williams, which is somebody we let go, if you remember. Over what was the name of the guy from Man City we signed? It was absolutely gash.
Dehaney.
Over Jordan Williams. Do you remember? And obviously Jordan Williams went to Barnsley, has done really well. So I'm not sure we're going to be in the market for a striker. I really don't. I think he's going to be looking right into the middle of the field, which is where I think we look weak.
Do you think the strikers are good enough, Gaz, that we've got? Do you think they'll score enough goals though? I think Healy would if he stays. But what about the others?
Well, that's going to be Duff's quandary, isn't it? Who does he play with Healy? Because Healy's got to be the number 1 striker, surely. Who do you play with him?
I mean, we've invested a lot in Radulovic, haven't we? But is he going to stay? Is he going to go? Physically, he didn't look up to it at all in the Championship. The thing about League One is it's all power and pace, and if it's all physicality, and with too many players that are weaklings, really.
Danny Ward, then, isn't it? If that's
I would say Danny Ward, but Danny Ward's injured more than he plays. So, and we can't rely on it. So, Keane Harrott has looked promising in spells, but then where's his head at? Because there always seems to be issues there. I mean, Simpson-Udlin, I don't understand why we brought them in the first place. It's baffling. And Phillips is obviously doing all right over in America, so he'll stay there for a while. I don't know. I wouldn't write off a striker, Gaz, because depending on if Radulovic stays and you had Healy, Radulovic, and Ward, that's not bad. But if Radulovic goes, I think Ward almost certainly will get injured at some point. So then who goes up there. So I wouldn't write off a striker. I think, and it'd be useful to have somebody who's played in League One a few
We
seasons
need pace.
again.
Oh, come on. We need
and pace. Yeah, desperately.
There's zero pace there. If Thomas has gone, if Thomas isn't here, we don't expect him to be. Bergzog's gone. Questions over Karoma staying or not. Where's, and he's not the fastest anyway, Karoma. I think his reactions are really good. It looks like he kind of gets in the right positions, but otherwise you're going to go with Healy, Ward, Simpson, and Radulovic, who doesn't look the fastest. It's a slow front line, and that is, you need to have a different dimension. Our play will be very, very predictable if that's what we've got. But it's going to, like I said, it's going to cost money. It's going to cost money. We know strikers are expensive, but what we have at the moment is a very one-dimensional kind of attack. And now it is early days. They've barely got on the flights to Dubai, the boys. They're probably not even putting the little art monitors on or whatever on the back and doing the pre-season runs yet. They'd be well off that. But it's just we need to spend the money on some pace or bring maybe it's a low, maybe that's how it goes. But at the moment, as we stand today, as Kevin loves it, though, he loves saying there's a bit of work, we've got work to do. The work to do is to bring in fast guys because at the moment there's no pace. In that front line, there's next to nothing from who we're expecting to be here in August. And that has to get sorted out because I'll call it now. If this is the front line we have going into it, the lack of pace will cause us all sorts of problems because if all you're facing is slow, yes, good strikers, the defenses can kind of deal with that because it becomes very predictable. So there has to be some incoming.
You can compensate for that. You can compensate for that, though, Ian, if we get some pace into centre mid. I mean, when was the last time we had a midfielder that runs beyond the strikers? I honestly cannot remember. You know, and that you can make if you're going to play 3-5-2, you can afford for a midfielder to break and cause problems, you know, with the ball in behind if they're quick enough. But yeah, I do hear what you're saying, and that was I had written that down about, you know, if Thomas goes, where is the pace? Because there ain't none. That's it. We're very one-paced. Even the two, you know, even when you look at wing-back, Brody's not going to be the quickest. Jackson's not the quickest. I'm not a big fan of Jackson as a wing-back anyway. I think we're short in wing-back territory. You're then looking at Turton and Ruffle as well. You know, with the greatest respect in the world, they're not going to run anybody behind. Yeah, Pat Jones a good shout, Andrew, but the problem he's made of glass, isn't he? I mean, he's injured more than Ward. The thing with Pat Jones is everyone talked really highly of him and like, oh, it's going to be really good when he's back. And I, honestly, personally, having watched him, I don't understand the excitement. And I hope I'm wrong. I really do hope I'm wrong. And he does look quick. And did he score in the last season? Did he bag a goal in the last season? He scored at Norwich.
Yeah. Okay. But he don't scream to me like he's going to be an answer. And again, I hope I'm wrong. And honestly, Andrew, if I am, I will admit it. I will totally admit that I missed one there. But I think if we're going into a season hoping that Pat Jones is offering us the pace that we need, then we're not going to be a club challenging it for a top 6 place in League One. And that's just from what I've seen this season. Again, I hope I'm very much wrong. And all of a sudden, Bojan Radulovic bags 30 for fun and Pat Jones is whipping it in like his Sorba Thomas Part 2. I just feel like we're quite a way off at the moment having an attacking unit that's going to cause more problems in League One than most people hope.
Thing is, we need more wing backs rather than attacking wingers in this formation. I think we need people that can drop deeper, and I can't see Pat Jones tracking back. He's the sort of person you want if you're on the counter attack, pushing high, pace, getting in behind. To me, we need left wing back, right wing back with pace that can come up with assists. We need more assists from those areas, assists and goals as well. We need more goals rather than just relying on strikers for goals. We need wing backs that can cut in and contribute, and we don't have that. So that's the two positions that I've been looking to strengthen straight away is wing back positions. Sorry, guys.
I think that's why we might look at Jordan Williams for that reason. And that's very much the role he's played while he's been at Barnes. I think he was Barnes' captain as well this season. I think he's been captain. You know, that's exactly his game, Nick. He gets in behind, he's quick, puts a decent ball in. So, and he is on a free. We love re-signing players we've had before, but you know, actually, this might be one that could work out because he's what we need. Don't feel nostalgic, does it? He's actually filling a gap.
Did Michael Duff bring John Russell to Barnsley then?
Good question.
Maybe, possibly, yeah.
Just asking in case we have to give somebody the right to sign midfielders for us. That's all. Just want to know, and I'll go back to it later on. But I just wonder if Michael Duff brought John Russell into Barnsley.
There's a guy called Harrison Burrows at Peterborough that's only 22, but he's got is it 12 goals and 18 assists last season, and he's only 22 from left back. But those are the sort of players that we need to be looking at bringing in. Players that are towards the top end of League One, that are used to the league, but have potential to develop beyond League One into the Championship, but will contribute with goals and assists. Those are the sort of players that we need to be looking at. Devante Cole, I've had mixed reports. Some say he's awful and he only scores tap-ins, but to me that shows good awareness. And he scored 18 goals, which, I mean, I'll give me right arm for someone who scored 18 goals. I can't remember the last time we had someone that scored 18 goals for us in a season, a long time ago.
We scored 34 in 115 games for Barnsley, so what's that, just under 1 in 4? So he's not prolific.
He's not prolific, but
he'll fit right in.
Yeah. Well, people talk about Longstaff, don't they? But players like that, I think. I mean, I don't know. It's hard, isn't it? Because we don't know what the budget is. We don't know what the budget is. We don't know the key positions and who we're looking at. But to me, we definitely need wing backs and we need an attacking midfielder. I mean, one midfielder I had a look very briefly today, and there was a guy for Blackpool called Dembele, Karamoko Dembele, and he was on loan from a French team, I think. And again, he's only 21, but attacking midfielder, left-footed as well, which is quite rare, which may be quite useful. But he had 8 goals and 13 assists last season. Now he's gone back from his loan spell, but again, players like that who maybe wouldn't cost the earth, but have that little bit of proven quality in the league that maybe we can tap into. I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see who we bring in. But what about defenders, Guy? I'm interested because back three. I'm interested to know what your thoughts are on the back three and who you would have in that three. Because to me, it feels a little bit unbalanced at the moment. Anyway, with what we've got, who would you choose for that back three if we didn't bring anybody in?
I'd probably go with. I'm with Gaz. I think Spencer in that back three is not a bad option either. But it depends who the wing backs are. If you've got some other guys in there, you've got more options. But for the moment, it's going to be Pearson and Lees, isn't it? And Hellick, as of today, that's where it would be. But if we're not expecting Hellick to be here, I don't know. It's going to have to be a new guy because I suppose the other option is Redeem Walker. You've got Bob. Yeah.
Say what?
Walker's going to be here.
Or do we expect him to be going back, do you think?
I expect he'll be here. Walker will be here, but it's just the way in which he was done last year in the Championship, in that they were always kind of like a ball to the back post, in swinging early crosses, back post, bigger guy kind of causing problems. And that problem is, to me, looking at it as an analyst style kind of thing, is that's what League One football is. It's like earlier crosses, it's bigger guys. Bolker's played in first tier and second tier of Dutch football, and that's where he's from. And it's a very different style of football to English football, right or wrong, but it's just different. Now, I like the way he drives it out from the back, and I think in a back three, you've got a little bit more leniency there for a guy to do that, right? You've got an extra kind of defender, depending on who you're playing and how high your wing-backs are. And in that Leeds-style system where centre-backs all of a sudden became overlappers, he seems that perfect defender for that. But defensively, can he win those one-on-ones? In the Championship, he couldn't. He couldn't win them. And he was also injured every second minute or ill every second minute. And now he's only been here a very short period of time. It's unfair to tarnish somebody that's kind of them. And hopefully he gets it together. He's had a bit of a steep learning curve to English football. But he's got a long way to go to me to prove he's ready for first-team football in England, even at League One level. I like him on the ball. But the problem is, as a centre-back, you have to be good off the ball. And he's been found wanting so far. So I'd be looking for, if Hellick goes, I'd be looking for a replacement, realistically. But a similar kind of guy, the big guy that can clear corners, because Pearson's good at attacking them, not great at defending them. Lee's not. He's not the. I like to refer to them as meat eaters. You like to have a meat eater, a centre at back when it comes to set pieces, and he's a guy. Don't necessarily man mark. Your job is to get that ball. You stay central. You go and meet it. And now Helik's that guy. And if he's not here anymore, you need to get somebody else in to do that. And he's got to be the third wheel between Lees and Pearson for me.
Yeah, I agree. The issue with Lees, there's bits of rumours that the injury is a lot worse than they first thought. So, I hope that isn't the case. I hope the lad comes back. But he's in his early 30s, isn't he? 33 or something. So it's a long way back with those kind of injuries when you're that age. So I hope he gets back. So if Lees makes it back, then you've got Pearson and Lees. Pearson's not going anywhere. He's Duff's kind of guy. Pearson is what Duff loves in terms of players. So run through brick walls type, and Pearson's one of those. So he'll definitely be here. I think Helik will be a goner. I think almost certain he'll get picked off. And then you're right, Ian. You're looking for replacements, aren't you? But in fairness, I think technically you don't need to be the greatest in League One as a centre half, especially if you're playing in a 3. Because if you've got one, if you've got one with a little bit of pace around you, you can make an error and there's somebody there to bail you out. That's why I'd like Brodie in the back 3, because I think he's got the pace to bail out anybody else that might get into trouble. But you've also got Aina, who's been away on loan, who the club rate highly. I've not seen much of him, but the little bits I have seen, I've been quite impressed with him in the B team 21s. He looks like he could be a player, that lad. And that's what I mean. We at some point we've got to give some of these young ones a go, or they're never going to make it. So I can see him bringing in at least one more centre half, and I'm with you. I think it'll be an industrial. Technical skill won't be their first priority. It's going to be defending it, kicking it, heading it. Don't worry about anything else. And in League One, that goes a long way sometimes.
So if we quickly break it down then in terms of what we need. So keeper, I think we've got cover there, even if Nichols goes, don't we? Because we've got Maxwell.
Yeah. Well, they give Chapman an extended contract, haven't they? Give him another 2 years.
Yeah, so which is good. So we're all right there. I think we need 2 new wing-backs, a new centre-half, attacking midfielder, or box-to-box. I think Herbie would be a great signing. I don't know whether we will or not, but I think that kind of player would be very welcome. And then potentially a striker, depending on what happens with Radulovic and the rest of them, whether Healy goes. I don't know whether some championship clubs will look at him, because he did score a few goals and he looked handy. Maybe a lower championship club will look at that and think maybe we can do a job for us. So, any extras to that, or do you think that's about right? 4 or 5 players.
I think that's about right. And we've got, as I say, there's 1 or 2 of these kids, Iapender and Aina, maybe even Pat Jones lumped into that are on the edge that might just get a chance and take a chance like Brodie did.
We just need quality. We need quality. Whoever we bring in now, it's not the time to bring in the high potential guys in the future. We need guys that are proven, can come in now and fucking deliver. Because in January, we didn't do that. It's all right giving Cartwright big rub, saying, oh, yeah, he did better than he could have done. We got fucking relegated embarrassingly on the back of January signings. Let's not fucking pretend it was successful. Maybe long-term it worked.
He didn't take any fucking responsibility for that, did he, in that press conference?
Oh, well, he won't, will he?
No,
Teflon. It's Teflon. That's what we should refer to him as. But, he's just fucking... They got it wrong in January. They brought in guys that might work out long-term, but you can't sit here, having been relegated as we were with the drop-off in form, and say January is successful. Not for last season, it was not. The proof is we dropped down the division. Not even slow, just fucking sunk as quick as possible. 23rd, relegated embarrassingly, based on what happened in January, because the guys that came in didn't perform enough to win us anything extra to keep us up. Now, we can't have a summer where we're bringing guys like that again. We just can't. We need to bring in guys that have proven at this level. But will we? They're expensive, Nick. It's all right saying we've got these guys at Peterborough and Blackpool, and they'll cost a couple of million. If you're proven in League One and you've created and scored goals, you're looking at a couple of million to bring them in.
The problem is, though, Ian, Birmingham will be doing. Wrexham certainly will be doing.
Yeah.
Rotherham
Bolton
are doing.
Bolton just missed out, and they're good.
We're talking about a big, strong striker to lead a line. They've just signed Clark Harris. Whether you think he's any good or not, he fits the mould of the person we just talked about. Somebody for Healy to play off. He might have fitted that mould. So that's the other thing. If we don't, Ian, the others are, and it's going to be a challenge enough. in the top
It's
six.
going to be a challenge, and the work has got to get done now. Like bringing in Duff early doors, fantastic. And do you know what? As like a precursor for the preseason to come and getting signings done early doors, best thing you could have is that they did get it done, and they said they would. It's got to continue, and it's got to start now. They have to be working at it right now because there's a lot to get done, and it's proven players we need in that will be expensive, no doubt. But we need them. We need them. We just to gamble again like we did in January is risky at this point. And for me, I'd rather 3 quality than 9 kind of maybes. Maybe, and if that is through a loan, fine, whatever. I don't really mind on that in that regard. But the longer you stay in League One, the harder it is to get out of it because every year 3 new teams come down, and some of them can be ex-Premier League teams like we are, and it gets more and more difficult. Look at Charlton. You can look at Bolton. Look at Portsmouth. I know they've done right this year, but it takes a while. We know we've done it. We've been there. The best opportunity you have to get out of League One is the first year you're in it because you can whack yourself about a little bit saying, look at us, come join us, we're the biggest team in the division. But they have to take full advantage of it now, and there's a lot of work to do. Let's just hope they get it done.
Yeah, and I know they're expensive, Ian, but getting lesser players with limited ability it's false economy almost to spend less in this instance, because even if we spent less and got promoted, those players might not be able to make the step up, and then you're having to get rid of them or bring in even more players. Whereas you spend a bit more, but then on players of a decent age who have got the ability, they can then make the step up, and then you're not having to re-sign loads of new players when we do go up. So, and I think that's what we kind of alluded to in the press conferences. That's the kind of players that we're looking for, which is music to my ears. But you're right, they cost money, and he's going to have to invest a decent amount of money for us to be competitive. I always think like it's similar to Premier League model, really, is League One. Obviously not in terms of ability, but you kind of got 8 to 10 teams at the top end who are battling to go up, and then the rest of them are kind of there's a proper divide there in terms of quality of teams, and we're obviously up in the top league within a league, but there's going to be 10 other teams that's competing with us for those top 6 spots. And like Gas says, there's going to be your Wrexhams aren't going to. They're not afraid to spend money. Birmingham's not afraid to spend money. Rotherham's always up there, really experienced, know what they're doing. Already made the signing of Clark Harris. You've got Peterborough, who are always up there, have really good knack of signing players with potential. Bolton, always up there, big club, spend money. So it's going to be hard. It's going to be really difficult.
NFL comparison is really good. It's like they need little tweaks to kind of compete at the top. I think Rotherham got promoted. I know they stayed up a year, but they didn't change too much. They kind of know the players are proven at League One. They're not quite Championship level, but you kind of know they'll be there or thereabouts next year. They don't need to make wholesale changes, whereas we are very much in a rebuild mode for me. A lot of change needs to happen because we're so far away from being able to play the way we need to play to compete at the top of League One, and there's so much to do. Especially like you say, Nick, when so many other teams in the division, Peterborough are always there and thereabouts. Birmingham, I think looking at their squad, it's all right. Everyone's look at the squad, they should be performing better. I don't think we should. I think we're shite. I think we've been awful. But Birmingham do look all right, and a little few tweaks there, they'll do okay. They're on about building a new stadium and all sorts. It could just be a bump in the road for them. I've got more faith, I guess, in them doing okay longer term than we have based on how we've gone down this year. The job to make Town competitive in this division. Remember, this first year you're in there, you can spend, I think, 75% of your turnover on players, and it drops down to 60%. It's a bit like parachute payments part 2, isn't it? In that you've got that financial advantage initially, and you have to make the most of it. But it has to be done now. It has to be done now. And other teams are better prepared at this moment than we are. We're definitely playing catching up, because I genuinely don't think the club expected to be relegated this season either. That's another thing. They weren't ready for this. But this is where we find ourselves. We just need to get shit together quick. And to be fair to them, to be fair to Kevin, they've got the stuff in order when it comes to bringing Duff in as soon as possible. There's a lot of work to do and a lot of catching up to do. It'll be a very, very tough task to get them ready between now and the first day of pre-season, which is only 6 weeks away. It's not that far.
But the pressure's already on, isn't it? Because Kev and our mate Mr. Cartwright, they're already talking about promotions that we're going to need. We expect promotion. We're going to be going for promotion. You know, they're already lumping the pressure onto the team, onto Duff, and onto players. You know, it's like they haven't learned the lesson. You know, they should just be keeping the council and just saying, we're going to give him everything he needs, and this bloke's going to deliver. And that should have been it. It's all they needed to say, instead of talking about promotion. Because if we don't get promotion now, they've now created a failure for themselves, haven't they? Already.
Premier League in 3 years, guys. It's still on, mate.
Don't learn, do they?
Back to back. I couldn't believe that came out in the press conference and he said, "Oh, it's still on though. Potentially, that hasn't changed." But it bloody has changed. Fucking no chance. I mean, I don't want to sound defeatist, but fucking hell, it's.
I'll take a fucking Premier League club in third round at this point. Not just making to third round at Cup and having one game against the B team. I think it's going to be a challenge to get there as of today.
Well, that's a problem in itself, isn't it? Because with all that shite now to contend with all the Tin Pot Trophy and all these extra games, we could have 50 fucking games to get through. So we're going to need a sizable squad to cope with that amount of games. So we're really gonna have to be. I think Carrot said, "Oh, we don't need a massive squad." Well, we need a big squad. We need a big squad to cope with these
Nick,
games.
You've just reminded me. We've got under 23 teams to play, aren't we? We're on B teams now.
With all that crap to do. So yeah, that's a bit of extra excitement for us to enjoy. But we're going to need a big, we're moaning about the games last season. They were coming thick and fast and we had loads of games. Wait till next season comes along. You've only to have a half-decent cup run. Not that we will, but if we'd had a decent cup run, there's even more games to throw into it. So yeah, it's a massive, massive job. And we've heard about the pre-season going to Austria. So it's a nice little holiday for everyone going over there to watch. But people were moaning about some of the lesser teams, the local lesser teams. I think Harrogate's in there, York. What were the other teams in there? Were Guiseley in there, maybe? I'm not sure. But I've no problem with these kind of warm-up games, and I've no problem with that whatsoever. But to me, it all rests on that Austria trip and the sort of calibre of opposition we're playing as to what we're actually going to get out of it. We need to hit the ground running with this pre-season. We need to build the fitness up, build the team dynamic, the togetherness. We need some proper fixtures against some tough opposition to test out the formation, to get the players in the best possible position to go. Are you guys happy with the structure at the moment? I mean, we don't know the teams, do we, that they're going to be playing, but are you happy that we're going abroad and doing all this, or do you think we should have just kept it relatively local? And
it normalises it, Nick, at least, doesn't it? We're doing what you'd expect a professional sports club to do, which is to go away and have some warm weather training, make sure that they're building a team ethic, trying to avoid the splits of last year. Be professional, hopefully play some reasonable quality opposition while we're away. I mean, normally the home fixtures, the pre-season fixtures, they never are in a great shape by one game. We usually have one game, don't we, against a foreign opposition of some kind who are reasonable quality. But we've not even lined that up at the minute, have we? So, listen, it's better than, the Black Dog and Duck or the Black Bull or whatever we were playing in Cornwall last year. And I'm planning to go, actually. I've never been on a pre-season tour, but me and Connor are planning to go to Austria in July, so that should be quite good. I might take my boots, might get a game, you never know. But yeah, at least it feels like we've got a bit of a plan, Nick. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think the quality of the opposition is great. You can argue, does that really matter? I mean, it only really matters.
The only thing there, guys, is last year, like halfway through this season, like, Warnock fucked it last year. We're playing against loads of pub teams. And then all of a sudden you look at these teams and they're not much better. Like, it's so far the ones that are announced aren't that much better than what we played last year. They're just not. It's nice that they're all northern, so we can get to them easily. I think it's quite nice. I think it just makes sense. Well, to be fair, last pre-season, Tavistock we played. Didn't we draw? Played Lister or something.
Couldn't even score, could we? 0-0.
No, we drew one of them. We drew one of them against. Honestly. But that's how Warnock does it. And now, again, it's stupid to give Warnock that pre-season, then get rid of him 3 weeks in and say, well, not 3 weeks, however long it was. It's the way he does it. And if you give him the full season, maybe having a calmer pre-season means that at the end of the season, you don't have the drop-off that we had. That's Warnock's style. You can't really question it. He doesn't coach the same way as everybody else. But that's how he gets different results than everybody else. So I thought it was a bit poor to say, it was a joke. They were spending golf and too much time in the pub. Yeah, for your system. But if Warnock were going to be here for the full season, as he was contracted to be for, then maybe you'd have got a different kind of result at the end of it. I'm all up for Austria trip. I still just can't wangle a way out yet. I've not quite managed. We'd expect 2 or 3 games over there against European opposition. The other thing that surprised me on that, isn't that where Brighton Wright took his team previously for a pre-season, with suggestions there that Town kind of expected him to stay, maybe, and that's his kind of idea of a pre-season. It's what Championship clubs do. They go to Europe, do a pre-season, and then come back. I know we're not Championship anymore, but it's the standard kind of pre-season. But I just like the friendlies being Northern. We can all get to them. I don't know. They could probably sell out though. I don't. Is it going to be ticketed? Like if we're at Guiseley, that's not a very big stadium. You're at Emley, that's not very big. They only got 3 sides because the cricket club on the far side. Normally we send the B team, but it sounds like this year we're going to send the first team. So do you know what? What is good is instantly. I don't know about you boys, but I'm a bit excited again for the season. Looking at pre-season, close round here, nice friendlies, bit of sun, few beers, watching game. It's nice again, isn't it? It's a little bit of positivity. Couple that with cheaper season tickets. It's kind of just a little bit of a nice feeling again around the club. And again, from just a few weeks ago, I didn't think this would be where we're at now. So fair play to the club for just getting it right, because it won't be Duff, I don't think, who's picked the pre-season friendlies, because he's only been here 2 minutes. So that's come from somewhere else within the club. And it just feels like, compared to last season, they've got something right now that they didn't get right at all last year. So fair play to them on that.
Yeah, it's a great move. Keep the prices the same. I think we'll sell just as many season tickets this season as last season. Get the supporters in, generate the atmosphere. And yeah, you're right. I am positive. I'll be more positive when I see the calibre of signings that are coming through the door. There's still a little bit of hesitance there as to what we can actually attract and how the squads, because I do think there's a big job to do. But do you know what? I'm excited, and I'm excited because I'm sick of us losing every single week, playing dross football, not scoring, not creating anything. So if anything else, it's just nice to go into a season thinking, actually, we've got a chance of doing really well here if we get it right. We've got a chance of playing some reasonably entertaining football, scoring some goals, and then everybody's happier. And I just hope we do that and then carry that momentum forward if we do go up into the Championship and give it a proper go next time, rather than just being cannon fodder for majority of the time we were there last time. So yeah, I know I'm not sounding overly positive in what I'm saying there, but I am positive. And I'm excited to go some new grounds that I've not visited. I'm looking forward to going to some more away games next season, and I think it'll be a much. There won't be as vitriolic atmosphere this season. It'll be a lot calmer. I think it'll be happier. It'll be a happier atmosphere for majority of the season, I'm hoping. So yeah, I'm all for it. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm going to get a season. I was on the fence. Well, shall I get a season ticket? And then when they announced the prices and they've made an effort and they brought Duff in, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll come back. Like the idiot I am, like the idiots we all are. We come back with hope getting new season tickets, only to moan 10 months later when it's all gone to shit. But hopefully it won't this time. Ah dear. Right, lads, we've covered a lot. I'm just thinking, is there anything else? Sean's put any rumoured signings. Well, I haven't heard any. I don't know if you guys have. Have you guys heard any signings? Or
no, which is strange, to be honest. Normally, signings do leak out, but it is only early in it. May 20th. People are very much on the contract still. So, no.
When does the transfer window open officially? Is it 1st of July or 1st of June?
Is it July?
1st July, yeah. Yeah.
So don't mean we can't wrap up a few signings prior to that, and I think there will be. Well, I hope there's work ongoing to try and get that done. But other than the Barnsley connections, your Devante Coles, Herbie Kanes, Jordan Williams, I've not heard anybody else mentioned, which is strange. But it'll all kick off over the summer, I'm sure. People will be panicking when it's in a couple of weeks and we haven't signed anybody, but it'll all come together, I'm sure. What we don't want is for it to get to the last day of the transfer window and then for Elic and Radoni to go, and then we've not got any replacements. That's what we don't want. If people are leaving, let's do it early. Let's try and get it sewn up in time so we can get some reasonable replacements through the door. But no, other than that, I'm quite enthusiastic. I think we'll spend some money. I think we'll get some reasonable players. I just hope they've got the right idea with the players with the physicality, not just the skill, but the physicality to stand up to the players in League One, because it is a physical league, and some of our players, you sneeze in stand and they fall over. Do you know what I mean? They need to be a bit more aggressive, a bit more, have a few more pies post-season, bulk out a little bit, get down the gym, get some protein powders, and then get out there. Right, guys.
What's your expectation? Then? Based on that, then, Nick, we're gonna have a quick. Where do we think we're going to finish now, and then do another one? Then once we know who we've signed or not. Killer's going to say 23rd again, like he always does.
What's this here?
Well, I'll be having a bit of that.
Yeah, so would I. I mean, I don't think it's particularly likely, but who knows? You never know. You never know.
No.
It's a hope that kills you.
Yeah.
Go on then, Gaz.
I'll go on positioning. I honestly think with how we are now, we'd start really poorly. I think we'd start really poorly, and Duff would figure it out as we went, and we finished top half, but outside the playoffs, and never really kind of get there. 6 points outside playoffs, so what's that? 10th, something like that. When we go to 10th, I think that's what it's going to take.
Yeah,
without serious financial investment,
yeah. Without strengthening, I think if we can finish in the top 10, I think that's probably I mean, you wheeled off without even thinking about it. Nick, 6 teams who are going to be challenging for the playoffs. I'd add Barnsley to that, so that makes 7 plus us. That makes 8. So you've 8 teams there that are probably all thinking they're within a shout of the playoffs. So 2 of them are going to miss out. So it's going to be. I sound like a broken record, but League One's a graveyard for teams like ours, teams in disarray, clubs in disarray. So, I think you said Ian, best was it? One of you said best time to get out is first time. And if we,
it's 4. It took us 4 years. I think it was it 4 years under Dean Oil spending maximum financial fair play loss to get out of it. Was that what it was? Or I don't know if it was FFP at that point, but it was £5 million loss a year, I think, between 3 and 5 or something for. A few years. That's what it cost to get out of it last time.
Took 22 penalties to get us out.
Yeah, exactly. So, is Nagel willing to put in a similar income? Are we trying to do it on a thinner budget than what we did then, relatively to inflation and stuff like that? I don't know. But it's not as easy as I think people are expecting it to be.
Yeah, as it stands in the minute, I'm with you. I think 10th, upper table.
I think I would say 12th. I think it's a lot of it's mental as well, and I do think that there's been a lot of damage this season, not just in terms of defeats, but in terms of what happened with Brighton Writer and some of the mindset of some of the players, and has that eked out into the rest of the squad, and that's quite hard to overcome. And I think
it feels similar, Nick, doesn't it? Sorry, it feels similar to when we got relegated from the Premier League, where the squad was not ready for the Championship.
People were saying, I'm looking forward to going back to the Championship where we might win some games. Do you remember them heady days?
I think it's such a big. I think it's a little bit different this time, but I still think it's similar in the sense that there's a big mental barrier to overcome there, and it's very difficult when you've got used to losing games to then switch that mindset. Right, we're going to go out and win every game. It's difficult, but maybe having Duff in so early, having a proper pre-season, get some fresh faces in, that eradicates that, and if we can get rid of the bad eggs or whoever they are and kick on, who knows? But at the moment, for me, I'm going to say I don't think we're going to go down with this squad or anything like. I don't think we're poor enough to go down, but 12th for me, middle of the table, because there's teams better equipped mentally and squad wise than us to challenge at the moment. But hopefully that will change in the next couple of months.
This has been really negative. Can we just finish on a little positive here? No, what we need to chuck in here is Sheffield United this year have made it that Huddersfield Town now do not have the 3rd worst record in Premier League history over the course of an entire season. And it may be on goal difference, but now we're 4th. We're out the relegation zone. We're safe for another year. Man City might have taken our thrice championship speciality away just a little bit until their financial fair play rules hit the courts. But for now, they've taken that.
Well, in 2 years' time, when we get promoted back to the Premier League, according to Mark Cartwright, we can have another go at being the worst team ever.
Positive, Gaz. Finish on a positive.
That's the way, kid.
Finish on a positive. Bloody hell, what a season. Man City's taken that accolade away. Leeds probably get promoted. Forest stay up, who I despise. They get relegated. What a season. Barring has been liquidated. Could it have gone any worse this season? But anyway, let's be positive, right? Forget it. Let's be let's be positive. Let's be positive because I am actually quite looking forward to next season.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm encouraged by Duff. I think it's a good appointment. And we've got some new officers, lads. Don't forget that. That came out today as well. We've got some new staff officers, so it's not all bad. It's not all
Nice one.
bad. They look nice and smart there. They brought
A
out
big
a little
chest,
video
Mark
to show us
Cartwright.
round. Yeah.
Of course,
So
stuff like that.
okay. Behave, Gaz. Right.
Sorry, Mark.
Thank you so much, everyone. It's been a pleasure. It's been a shining light in an otherwise dismal season doing this. It's been nice to have a laugh and unpick it all together. And we'll be back next season. We'll do a proper season preview, I assume, guys. Will we when we know when we get some players in and we know a bit more about what we think's going to happen. But it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much, guys, for all your comments and your questions. What's that before we go? New kit, new sponsor, Hummel rumour to new kit supplier. Oh, yes.
That's great news. I love a Hummel kit.
What a positive to finish on, eh?
Thanks,
Cheers,
Ian.
Nice one.
Gaz, when was the last time you wore a football shirt? Gaz, when did you last wear it? He's gone. Look, he's gone again. He's frozen out. Chimming about Hummel. Not seen Gaz in a football shirt for a good, 10, 15 years. He's giving
he might get one.
He might get one down at... Maybe. I hope so.
And on that bombshell, guys, thank you, Ian, Gaz. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And we will be back for episode 55, previewing the new season and hopefully our promotion season. We'll see. But take care, everybody. See you soon. Ta-ra.